What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with Jon Marks on PHLY. I'm already not happy with the microphone. It is going limp in some spots. See? Like a lot of things around here, it's a work in progress. Philly with Jon Marks is always presented by Bet Parks and Central City Toyota. Uncle Jamie and his college football locks of the week. It's championship week edition. That's coming up here. See it just go down. Put it back up. I'll tighten this. The elevator. So we got an update on our elevator yesterday here at PHLY Studios. And by the way, this isn't anything with management here at PHLY. This is the building, the landlord of the building. So we haven't had an elevator since last Wednesday. Was the day I came in here before we had the broadcast at the Reading Terminal Market. I'm like, hey, let me go and take a leak before I walk over to the market. And the elevator was cooked. So I'm like, all right, great. All right, holiday weekend. I got to order a part. Going to take a couple days. So apparently the update we received yesterday from Vince Pellegrini was that the building people can't get a hold of the elevator repair people, which would seem like to me bad business. And then you just call somebody else and you get them out here and you say, hey, we need to get this fixed ASAP. We're on the 7th floor. And I actually had somebody email me yesterday and say, stop bitching about the elevator being out. You could have bigger problems. No, I'm going to continue to bitch about the elevator being out. We're on the 7th floor, and it's 6 o'clock every morning. I'm walking up 7 flights of steps in my Gore-Tex jacket. All right? Really? What if we have a disabled person in here? You know, what if you have people that shouldn't be walking up 7 flights of steps every day? Fix the elevator, please. All right. I'm done. 76ers lose last night. We'll get to that coming up here with headlines with Tyler Zulli. Wanted to it and some Philly stuff. Juan Soto seems like he could be making a decision in the next day or two, and it is not the Phillies. I have thoughts on that, and I have thoughts on reaction from Phillies fans. That's coming up as well. So I saw a lot of this yesterday with the Eagles, and I get it. So you've seen a lot of Jalen Hurts discussion nationally on the debate shows. Chase Daniel is putting up, it seems like, videos all the time. Dan Orlovsky contradicts himself with Jalen Hurts on a weekly basis. You'll think that he's the greatest thing ever, and then it'll be like, oh, well, is he really a good enough passer? So the question of, is Jalen Hurts and the Eagles passing offense, is it good enough? Can they throw the football if needed to throw the football? Or if at some point a defensive coordinator says, hey, you know what? Here's what we're going to do with the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts can't flip the switch and flip the script, and hey, we're going to throw to win, right? This Eagles offense, and everybody knows this, including everybody in the NFL, but this Eagles offense is balanced. It goes through Saquon Barkley. It's a running offense. The Eagles are at their best offensively when they are running the football, and Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball less than 25 times a game. That's when they've had their most success this year offensively. And it doesn't put up 40 points a game. It's not an explosive offense. It's a very effective offense, okay? Sure, everybody would like to have the quarterback that throws the ball 45 times a game and throws for 5,500 yards and 45 touchdowns, as long as you get the wins with it. Because otherwise, you get Joe Burrow and a Cincinnati Bengals team where he's putting up unbelievable numbers, but they're not winning games, right? So back to Jalen Hurts and the passing offense for a second. The Eagles are 28th in the NFL in passing. 28th. Even I was a little bit surprised that they were 28th. But then when you think about it, you're like, all right, well, yeah, they are 28th because they run the ball so effectively and they don't need to throw the ball a lot. The defense is very good. The Eagles aren't going to throw the ball just to throw the ball. That's not their team. Second in rushing, 28th in passing. But the question you have to ask yourself is, do you believe when push comes to shove and defenses say, no, you're not going to run the ball, Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to beat us, that you believe this Eagles offense with Jalen Hurts can throw the ball to win? And that's a very easy answer for me. It's yes. Because they don't have James Thrash and Todd Pinston and Nay Brown and Freddie Mitchell to throw to. They have Devontae Smith, who's hopefully going to be back this week, and A.J. Brown. And when Dallas Goedert comes back, and they have Saquon Barkley as a receiver out of the backfield, and they have a great offensive line, and they have a great defense that matters. This isn't a team that just needs to win with their quarterback throwing the football. That's what's great about this Eagles team. They're not one-dimensional. Across the board, offense, defense, special teams. That's how you can win a Super Bowl. And I know that traditionally and typically, teams that throw the ball as I won't even say poorly, but just have the offensive numbers throwing the ball that the Eagles are having this year, they're not winning Super Bowls. But it doesn't feel like the Eagles aren't throwing the ball because they feel like Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. It feels like the Eagles aren't throwing the ball because that's not when they're most effective. You know, people have a short memory in this town. And I'm just as reactive as anybody else, but we were saying the same thing about Jalen Hurts in 2022. That if he has to throw the ball, I know at least I was saying this, I know this is a run-heavy offense, but can you really win in the NFL with running the ball? And if Jalen Hurts can't throw it, well, listen, Jalen Hurts threw the hell out of the ball at the end of that season. And remember the playoffs? Remember the Super Bowl? Did it look like that Jalen Hurts couldn't throw the ball in the Super Bowl when they were that close to winning and he would have been the Super Bowl MVP and he outperformed Pat Mahomes, right? So, like, everybody, and the usual suspects, when you have to fill 20 hours of radio a week, and sports radio is very big in this town. When you have to fill, and when you use the word fill, you have to fill 20 hours of radio a week. And an interesting topic, and I'll even say somewhat intriguing, is, all right, the Eagles are 28th in passing. What can we talk about that can get a good discussion? Oh, let's make it about the quarterback. They do it nationally, and we do it locally here in Philadelphia. So I understand it. But then from there, so a morning show does that. WIP, they had, I saw yesterday on Twitter, they had like I guess they were arguing about it, a very animated back and forth, which I didn't listen to. I just headline read. So then you see pretty much all the shows for the rest of the day following suit and saying like, oh yeah, Jalen Hurts. So it's like, hey, can the Eagles, is their passing offense good enough to win a Super Bowl? No, I don't think it is. Other side, yes, it is. Of course it is. It's not good enough. It is good enough. I'm worried about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore because I don't have to fill 20 hours a week. And I'm not hating on people that have to do it because it's the nature of what we have to do sometimes. But let me be very clear about what I think. I have no concerns about Jalen Hurts in this Eagles offense. No concerns at all. Do I think Jalen Hurts is going to go out and throw 50 times for 400 yards? I don't. Do I think Jalen Hurts is that type of a quarterback? Normally, no. I see the struggles that he has with finding open receivers and going through his progressions and things like that. But here's also what I'm not doing. I'm not analyzing every other quarterback's throw in the NFL. I'm not watching every game and being like, oh, see that? He missed that guy over the middle. It probably happens a lot more than you think. So is Jalen Hurts the best passer in the NFL? He's not. Is he probably a middle-of-the-road throwing quarterback in the NFL? Okay, fine. But that's not his game. That's not why he is a top quarterback. That's not why he is considered by many to be a top quarterback in the NFL, because he does a lot of the other things. And I'll end the discussion with this. It's not just about passing yards, throwing the ball 40 times. When the defense dares you to throw it, can you do it? It's not just about that. It's also about when you do it. And I have a lot of confidence. Fourth quarter, need a drive. Who can get it done? Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has shown in his Eagles career, hey, by hook or by crook, if it means I got to run a little bit more than I normally would to move the chains, he's going to do it. Dual threat. So has he improved as a passer since the Super Bowl year? He hasn't. Has he taken a little bit of a step back as a passer since the Super Bowl year? Okay, like, even for the sake of argument, fine. Like, maybe he hasn't developed more as a passer. Man, this team's good enough and this quarterback's good enough to win a Super Bowl. This is a damn good team, and I have zero worries about the passing offense, Jalen Hurts, or anything like that at all. This team is capable of winning a Super Bowl, and it's not just because, well, they can run the ball. No, this is a very good team, and they have a very good quarterback. As we welcome in Tyler Zulli, who also had to walk up the flights of steps as well this morning. And look at this microphone, man.
Yeah, you're having some trouble today. I think I'm gonna get us a graphic for Elevator Gate. You know, days of Elevator Gate at this point.
Can you do that? Can you just get me a regular stick microphone? so I don't have to deal with this.
I might just get you one of the lav mics you just attach to your
I loved
collar.
having, when we were at the Reading Terminal Market, it's this thing I won't say it all.
The headset's so much better.
I love the headset.
So much better.
Well, coming from obviously a radio background, I love having
They used to wearing headphones for 4 hours.
Now it's made me deaf. My hearing
Probably true.
My hearing is poor because of it. But like when you play the intro when we have the Buffalo Wild Wings style music into the show, which I love, I can't hear it. So I can't hear that. I can hear you, but I can only hear you because we're not too far apart.
Yeah, we're not that far apart.
I don't hear, I don't have an IFB or anything like that.
Sure.
So I want headphones. But yeah,
put it on the list of things that we need to get.
All right, well, there you go.
So I will say this. You bring up Joe Burrow, and I think it's an excellent conversation piece because Joe Burrow has thrown for, or the Bengals have, and my guess is it's mostly Joe Burrow. I didn't dive deep into their breakdown. It's 3,337 yards this year, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks. Joe Burrow's had an excellent season. The Bengals are not a playoff team because their defense has let them down routinely. They're giving up a ton of points.
Yep.
But it's not just the Bengals that have this high passing yard phenomenon where they're not a playoff team. I just went and did a quick search of the top 13 teams in terms of passing yards. That goes from the Cincinnati Bengals at 3,337 to the Vegas Raiders at 2,960. 13 teams have 2,980. 13 teams have 2,980 or more passing yards. 6 of those 13 teams are currently not playoff teams. The Cincinnati Bengals are not a playoff team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are battling with Atlanta. Currently, Atlanta leads the division. The last time I checked, they're not a playoff team. Dallas is not a playoff team. The Cleveland Browns are not a playoff team. The LA Rams are not a playoff team. The Vegas Raiders are not a playoff team. And then on top of that, you've got a couple of teams that are winning their division because their divisions stink. The Seattle Seahawks have the third most passing yards in the NFL. Geno Smith is 13 touchdowns, 12 picks. He's not protecting the football. They're winning, and they're winning their division, but it's not a particularly good division this year. The Falcons, the same thing. Kirk Cousins has 17 touchdowns, 13 picks. Now, he did throw 5 in one game. That's a pretty significant chunk of it. But the Falcons are a playoff team because of the fact that the NFC South also stinks, and they're one of the better teams in a bad division. My point being is you could conceivably say there are about eight teams in the top 13 in terms of passing yards that are not particularly good football teams that are in that category. The Ravens are there. They've thrown for a lot of yards. The Texans are there. They're winning the AFC South. The Lions are probably the best, most complete team in football. The Commanders, the Commanders are a playoff team. The Vikings are a playoff team. So your point is, just because you throw for a lot of yards doesn't mean you're a successful team. And just because you don't throw for a lot of yards doesn't mean you're not a successful team. We could go with the inverse, John. I'll give you a couple more stats real quick. Completion percentage. The Eagles are 8th across the NFL, 68.1% of Jalen Hurts' passes. Well, the Eagles' passes. I think Kenny Pickett's thrown a handful this year. But 68.1% of their passes have been completed. Interceptions. They're 8th or tied for 4th, actually, with a handful of teams. They've only thrown 5 interceptions as a team this season. QB rating. They're 6th in the league at 101.2. Want to go to some big plays? You brought up Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and even if it is a dump off to Saquon and he runs for a big chunk, 40-plus yard plays this year from the passing game. The Eagles are 4th. Only the Bengals, Ravens, and Packers have more. The Eagles have 10. This is a model of sustainability. Just because the number is low in terms of total passing yards doesn't mean that this doesn't work. Jalen Hurts has not turned the ball over in the last 8 weeks. And I say not. He has turned the ball over, but he's done it in such a limited capacity. He's only turned the ball over twice in the last 8 weeks, and they both came in the Dallas game.
What do you know? That's the winning streak.
Right. So he's turned the ball over twice. They both came in the Dallas game. He has 0 turnovers in the other 7 games. So, yes, he's not throwing for a ridiculous amount of yards like Joe Burrow is. Yes, he's only throwing the ball 18, 20, 22 times a game, but he's protecting the ball. Their run game has been successful. Their defense has been much better than we anticipated, one of the best in football. Why is that not a winning formula?
Yeah, I never watch the Eagles and say, wow, they're winning in spite of Jalen Hurts. He's very much a part of their winning. He is. He's a big part of it. He is. Now, could he go to another team and have the same kind of success? I think he'd be successful. I don't know if they'd be this good. But I always go back to Dak Prescott. His best maybe his second best year, but certainly his most yardage that he had was when the Cowboys went 8-8. He had almost 5,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. You know what I remember from that season? Because their defense was terrible. I think it was terrible in they were 12-5 that year. Anyway, they had a really, really bad defense, and they were down big early. Garbage yards. It matters when you throw for you can throw for 350 yards. If you're losing 30-9 and you throw for 350 yards and you end up with 20 points because you got a bunch of stuff underneath and they're allowing you to throw the ball and you're just scoring because you're down big. Like, it matters when the yards happen.
Congratulations, you're a compiler.
Yeah,
that's what you are. You're a stat compiler.
Right. Like Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers threw for a lot of yards, played a long time in this league. He was a stat patter. Phillip Rivers was throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. What does it matter in crunch time? What's your signature win? Right? Jalen Hurts has signature games in his career at this point. Like, what are we talking about here? If they go into the playoffs this year, Tyler, and they struggle, I'll say Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's under 500 I think he's 2-4.
2-4, I believe he is.
2-4 as a starter. I tweeted this out a couple days ago. And you look at his numbers. Defensive coordinators in the playoffs, they did the same thing with Randall when he was an Eagle. They say, hey, we're not going to let you beat us with running all over the place and making throws with your legs. We're going to take away your intermediate routes. We're going to take away your short routes. You're going to have to throw the ball deep. And he struggles doing it. It's different in the playoffs. It's not a regular season game. So if Jalen Hurts starts to struggle in the playoffs and they're losing games because it's, oh, wow, they took away the running game and Jalen Hurts looked terrible, then we can have the conversation, or then we can actually focus on that. Jalen Hurts has given no Eagles fans any reason to believe that he's going to come up small in a playoff game. And I'm not looking, last year that they totally fell apart. That was an organizational thing. So whatever. And like Joe Burrow's had a great year. Look at how many points they've had in the first half of some games. The Bengals, right? And like, yeah, their defense stinks. But like, all right, their defense stinks. So is Joe Burrow really coming up with these high pressure drives where he's putting up big numbers in big spots? I'm going to Google it right now. And we're going to have to get to the headlines coming up in a second. But like, how many points do the Bengals have in the first half? Right? Because it's been an area of struggle for the Eagles, and it's real. It is. It's real. The Eagles in the first half points this year are, well, they've bumped it up a little bit, so it's 10.4 points per game. The Bengals are, let me see, Cincinnati. The Bengals are 12 points a game. So they're middle of the road right there. So I don't know, whatever. Let's do this. All right. Headlines are coming up next. All right. A lot to get to with the 76ers. Joel Embiid possibly going to be making his return on Friday night. So we have that. Also, the Major League Baseball winter meetings next week. Juan Soto could be signing very soon. Not going to be with the Phillies. And Dave Dombrowski speaks on the Phillies offseason with Todd Zielecki. We have all of that coming up next. Philly with Jon Marks. Don't go anywhere. All right, Bet Parks. Check it out. If you're looking and like, listen, Tyler and I are both we're both big college football fans. So I look at some of the games this weekend, and Uncle Jamie's coming up with his picks like 8:45-ish or so. We got some good games. We got Penn State against Oregon. Light line. Penn State, the Knicks are only 3.5-point favorites or 3.5-point underdogs. What? 3.5-point underdogs. That's right. Some of the other games are really good as well. And if you're looking pro or college football, whatever you're looking for, really, BetParks is the only app that I would go to. So check this out. To win the national championship, to be the college football championship, Oregon for a $25 bet, $87.50. Next is Texas, $25 for $100. $25 wager on Ohio State, $118.75. Georgia, $137.50. Notre Dame, $200. And all you nits out there, Penn State, put it out there, $25 to win $118.75. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio for BetParks Sportsbook and online casino app. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER With the BetParx app, there's always another way to win. All right, it's all about Rite Aid for a second. I have some sniffles at home right now. Nothing major. My wife is sick. I actually have a sore throat this morning. Can't possibly be a third case of strep. But so we're a little bit sick. So I'm always at my local Rite Aid because they got it going on with everything over the counter. Great deals. Tylenol, Motrin. I don't think, does anybody use Tylenol anymore? Because I'm children's Motrin across the board. But if you need a flu shot, right? Don't miss out. Don't miss out on the holidays coming up. Get your flu shot and help keep yourself safe over the flu. Protect yourself by getting your annual flu shot at Rite Aid. According to the CDC, flu vaccination may reduce a child's risk of severe life-threatening influenza by 75%. Help protect your family by getting flu shots at Rite Aid today. And while you're at the pharmacy, stock up on cough, cold, flu, and allergy essentials. Rite Aid has what you need to get you through the season. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for details. All right, there you go. All right, well, Sixers, listen, an entertaining game last night, but another loss. Let's get to the headlines with Tyler Zulli. Tyler, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. And our headlines, of course, are brought to us by our friends over at Glad Hair Restoration, because bald is now optional. And if you want to improve how you look and how you feel, head on over to gladhairmctr.com, or call 610-980-4000 to get started. You bring up the Sixers, we'll start there. They do fall to the Orlando Magic yesterday, 106-102. It was tied heading into the fourth quarter. The Magic win the fourth 29-25. Franz Wagner was the leading scorer in this one with 35 points. Sixers pretty evenly distributed throughout the stat sheet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different players in double figures. Caleb Martin and Ricky Council with 9. Jared McCain led the way with 24 points. A little bit of a struggle offensively for Tyrese Maxey yesterday. Just 16 points in 38 minutes played. The Sixers fall to 5-15. The Magic improved to 16-8. John, I texted you this before at the end of the second quarter, and I said, you don't need to respond to this. This is just me sending you my notes for tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
And I said, second quarter was one of the best from the Sixers we've seen in a bit. They got out in transition. They spaced the floor well, and their rebounding was excellent. I'll be honest with you, John. I know I don't play moral victories. I think it's a fluke to do that. It's just kind of short-sighted, and it's kind of burying
fun,
the lead.
Though. Moral victories can be fun sometimes.
I think yesterday was the closest to a moral victory that you could get for the Sixers team, because they looked like they were more prepared. They looked like they were more competent, and it just so happened that the Magic currently are better than them with the roster that they put out on the floor. Without Paul George, no Joel Embiid still. They're a better team than the Sixers with who they put out. I think yesterday was one of the more complete games the Sixers have played possibly all season, including some of the wins they've had. I thought yesterday at least had like a glimmer of hope to it.
Yeah. I mean, you see pieces. You see what it could look like with Paul George, and George didn't play last night. And Joel Embiid could possibly be back on Friday. More on that. But, yeah, I mean, Maxey struggled last night. It's interesting because now with the focus off of Embiid's not in there, he obviously changes everything that happens offensively, well, really defensively too, but as it relates to Maxey, now they're keying on him. And defensive coordinators of NBA basketball teams, if you know what I mean, like they're saying like, all right, what do we do with Maxey? And they're rushing him. They're doubling him. They're going after him. And right now he's kind of trying to figure out like, all right, how do we adjust with that? Nick Nurse is trying to figure out how do we adjust like that? I mean, honestly, McCain looks better out there than Maxey does right now. I mean, he plays a little bit better off the pick and roll. His shot certainly right now, Maxey's really struggling with the three. That's the biggest thing with Maxey. He's not hitting his 3-pointers, but McCain looks really good out there. I saw Rich Hoffman this morning on our PHLY daily newsletter. He had said that, like McCain, he's been more efficient in a lot of these games. Right? Like McCain has outplayed Maxey in a lot of these games, which nobody expected. We didn't even know if he was going to be a rotational player at this point. So, like I think also these guys playing together are still trying to learn how to play together. But, my concern about Maxey, I never thought that you could build a team around Maxey, right? Like, could you do Maxey, McCain, George, Bam Adebayo, another good starter? Like, yeah, you could be a middle-of-the-road playoff team like that, but Maxey's not going to win you a championship. I don't know who was thinking that, Tyler.
No, I don't think he's like a bona fide number one option. I think he's an excellent 2. He plays an excellent, and I think almost people use the analogy like Batman and Robin, right? And I think it's a slight to say that Maxey's a Robin because he's better than that. I think maybe he's more of like, for all you comic book nerds out there, he's more of like a Nightwing, right? More grown-up version of Robin, right? He's not Batman, but he's not just Robin either. And I think that, if you have a legitimate star and a Tyrese Maxey as your 2 and a guy who can step up on a night and be a 1 for an evening or be a 1 for a week.
Or at the end of games. Too.
Sure. And as a closeout guy, right? Because people have argued for a long time that they don't want the ball in Joel Embiid's hands at the end of the game because he's a big and blah, blah, blah.
Can't overuse him. Man.
And I tend to disagree with that because I want the ball in my best player's hands at the end of the game, regardless of the position, assuming you don't need like a pin down 3 or something like that. You know what I mean? Under the circumstances of like, you can control the outcome of the game, giving the ball to your big man. But yes, I think Maxey can do all of the things you need him to do. Can he do it for a prolonged stretch of being the guy on a team? Maybe not. But I think that this small stretch should not it should not deter you from being bullish on Tyrese Maxey. He was an all-star last year. He got the contract for a reason. Like, this kid is a darn good player.
He's a huge piece in the success that the Sixers would have. And like, I'm fine with Maxey. You're going to struggle, man. The league's going to react, and Embiid's out, Paul George is out. He wasn't great last night. Again, he missed some shots late too. Sixers, they had a chance at the end there. They battled back. They clawed back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was one of the more enjoyable games to watch, even in a loss. At least it felt like they were a semblance of a basketball team last night.
Right.
But they'll be back at it later this week. We'll talk more about it. They do have the Magic and a couple more games with the Hornets. It seems like that's all they play anymore is the Hornets. So we'll talk more about that. The Flyers back at it tonight as well. They've got 3 games in the next 4 days, 2 of which will be at home. They'll take on the Florida Panthers tonight before heading to Boston on Saturday. They'll be back home for their first ever matchup against this iteration of the team. The Utah Hockey Club will come to Philly on Sunday night, December 8th. So 3 games in the next 4 days for the Flyers beginning tonight.
Will there be a lot of traveling Utah Hockey Club fans that invade the Wells Fargo Center, similar to when we traveled, Eagles fans traveled to Los Angeles?
You have to show me a Utah hockey fan first before I could tell you that they're...
Obviously, I'm kidding, but wouldn't that be cool if you, let's say you lived in Salt Lake City and you have the Utah Jazz and you have college athletics or whatever, and all of a sudden you get a hockey team.
Yeah, I think it will be... It's like a shot in the arm, right? It's like a shot of adrenaline to get a new team. You're probably excited about it. I mean, it's not like the Coyotes were a force to be worried about last year. They played in a friggin'
college arena,
right? But it's a team. It's a team. No, nonetheless.
I know, but like think about how much more it'll be appreciated in Utah over playing in a community rink in Arizona. All right, go for it.
All right, so real quick before we move on, I just wanted to mention that 3 Flyers were selected for the 4 Nations face-off teams this upcoming or later this year. 2 players were selected by Team Canada. Travis Konecny and Travis Sanheim will represent Team Canada. Rasmus Ristolainen will play for Team Finland in this 4 Nations series. That is February 12th through the 20th. Of 2025. So those 3 guys will play for their country in the coming months.
Oh, I love the 4 Nations tournament. I put it above the NBA Cup, which we know everybody gets very excited about.
Yeah, big NBA Cup guy. One last story to tell you before we talk about tonight's game and a good NFL game on the Thursday night slate for the first time in a while. I guess maybe not. I guess it was a Cincinnati game not too long ago. That was a pretty good game, too.
The Thursday night games have been good.
They've
still
been
some stinkers.
Yeah,
but that's
the one Jets game was the Jets Broncos, I think it was. Whoever it was, the Jets game was bad. But that's just maybe a product of the Jets. So it was pointed out last Sunday by Tony Romo that it was kind of odd that the Ravens hadn't featured Deontay Johnson at all in their lineup. Well, turns out that Deontay Johnson has been suspended by his team for refusing to enter the game against the Eagles on Sunday. General Manager Eric DaCosta called it a difficult disciplinary action decision. So he's going to miss this next weekend's game. Excuse me, they're on the bye this week. He's going to miss next weekend's game against the Giants. Since coming over to Baltimore in the trade with the Carolina Panthers, he's only played 39 snaps. He has 1 catch for 6 yards. After being the Panthers' leading receiver through the first 7 games of the year. The Panthers got a 5th-round pick in exchange for Johnson and a 6th-round pick, so it seemed like a low-risk move for the Ravens at the time. But Deontay Johnson has been suspended for not wanting to play on Sunday.
He will not be in the NFL next year, I don't believe. Maybe,
really?
Maybe. Oh, I mean, so Pittsburgh gets rid of him because he's a problem. Because he's talented. Because he's a problem. Carolina, you just said he's their leading receiver. They trade him for a 5th-round pick because he's a problem. And then he goes to Baltimore, and he's not getting snaps. And they asked Mike Tomlin before the Ravens-Baltimore game. They were asking him about him, and he's like, well, he doesn't even play. Like, I forget his exact quote, but he's like, what are we talking about him? He doesn't even play.
Right.
And then he doesn't play at all. John Harbaugh's not messing around. If this guy's not practicing or he's a problem, John Harbaugh ain't put him in the game. So I would, unless he's going to change his act, NFL teams don't want to deal with a guy like this. No, he's talented, but how talented is he? He's not T.O., so, yeah, I mean, not going into a game, refusing to go into a game because he wasn't getting snaps in previous games, so he refuses to go into a game.
Yeah, he's sitting on the sideline pouting.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, but as we mentioned, a Thursday night game tonight is a good one. It's an NFC North showdown. The 9-3 Packers head to the 11-1 Detroit Lions. The Lions have not lost a game since Week 2 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've rattled off 10 consecutive wins, including a win against the Packers in Green Bay, 24-14, about 6 weeks ago. Since that time, they've scored 50 a couple of times. They've beaten the Colts by 18. A close game with the Bears last week, but this line still remains pretty low, John. I've seen it somewhere between 3 and 4 in most places. I see 3.5 right now in a couple of different places.
Bet Parks app right now, 3.5.
Yeah, it seems kind of like it might be a Green Bay line.
It is. It's a field goal game line, is what the odds makers are telling you.
No, I mean, I think Vegas is probably taking into account Green Bay's playing some good ball right now. The Lions did not play particularly well against the Bears. Now, they will have 12 days off in between their games. 10 days off, excuse me.
No, it's a Thursday to Thursday.
Oh, you're right. It is a Thursday to Thursday, correct. So it will be just your normal 7 days. But this seems a little fishy to me. I wonder if Vegas is in on Green Bay this week.
Sure seems like it. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, I think this is a close one tonight. And Detroit at home obviously plays in their favor. That's a loud stadium. It's also a division game. These division games, we know this from the NFC East, even when those teams stink, the Commanders, now they're good, but the Giants, sometimes those games are close. The Packers are good. So this will be a good one tonight. A lot of laundry folding. I've been keeping the laundry, not doing any laundry until tonight. So I'm going to do like 3 or 4 loads of laundry and just fold during the game. All right. So the Phillies. We're getting to the point that the winter meetings happen next week. So it is thought and is being reported, or at least speculated by many in the business, that Juan Soto is going to sign in the next few days before the winter meetings. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but that's what some people are saying. It has been reported by, it's funny because, and this isn't a slight at anybody that reported this, but I saw a bunch of reporting that said, we actually talked about it on the show, Tyler, where it was like, yeah, well, the Phillies have spoken to Scott Boras. And, they could meet with Juan Soto, or they plan on meeting with Juan Soto. They haven't made an offer. And my response was, well, of course they talked to Scott Boras. Scott Boras represents a ton of players in Major League Baseball, and also Bryce Harper. So, of course, they're talking to Scott Boras on a regular basis. But are they in serious discussions to sign Juan Soto? At this point, it's just silly. But the reaction from some Phillies fans out there, which are like disgust. A guy that I think I went to school with, I went to Temple with, was like, tweeted out, I'm so disgusted in the Phillies. Like, this is ridiculous. They're not going to get back to the postseason with a mindset like this. The Phillies were never signing Juan Soto. If you listen to anybody that didn't have, if I was doing a daily Phillies show, all right, like PHLY Phillies, you don't want to come out right and say, they're not doing that deal, we're not going to talk about it anymore. maybe the conversation becomes they should do a deal with Juan Soto, and here's why. But there's nobody with half of a freaking brain that honestly believed the Phillies were major players for Juan Soto. If Soto would have went to him and said, hey, listen, I'd like to be a Philly, could things have changed? Sure. Then maybe they can meet somewhere here as opposed to where Juan Soto wants to be, which is here. Juan Soto was never signing with the Phillies. So save your freaking phony outrage for me, Phillies fans, if you're mad the Phillies weren't signing Juan Soto. That's on you. That's not on the Phillies. The Phillies never led you to believe that they were signing Juan Soto. In fact, the owner and the GM let you know with their own words that they weren't going to be major players for Juan Soto. So they have not met with the Phillies. The Phillies have not met with Juan Soto, and they've made no offer. He's not going to sign with the Phillies. However, Adam Jude of the Seattle Times has reported the Mariners and the Phillies seem to be engaged in trade talks for Alec Bohm. Now, the asking price, or what the Phillies are asking for, is either George Kirby or Logan Gilbert, who are young starting pitchers. They're in the initial talks, with Seattle saying, oh, hell no, according to Adam Jude. And Tyler, you can come in on this one right here. These are two young, controllable starters that are good starting pitchers. And the Mariners are not trading them for Alec Bohm. Not for those two guys. They're major league. They're been in the major leagues for a number of years, and they are under club control for 2 and 1 for 3 years at controllable prices. I think Alec Bohm has value because obviously Seattle is interested in him to be their third baseman. You're not getting one of those guys. And I think why it's difficult to be a match with Seattle, don't you need major league players? I don't care about prospects right now. Dave Dombrowski talked to Todd Zielecki and said that he's looking for major league talent. And if you're not getting a guy back, whether it's a bullpen arm that you can use late in a game and or an outfielder that can play left or center field, I'm not making a deal. I need something real back in return for Alec Bohm. And I'm fine. If they were able to get one of these starting pitchers, let's do it. I just don't think, if I'm Seattle, I'm not trading one of these guys for him at all. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a match right there. Also with Dombrowski, he told Todd Zielecki that he says, the way I look at it is that we have a very good team. We won a lot of games last year. We won our division. We basically have mostly our whole club back. We're not an age team. I look at us having a very good club going in the next year. We've got 4 starting pitchers at the top of rotation who are as good as anybody's. We have a really good offensive balance from right side and left side. We need to fill a bullpen spot, but we have a really good club. We didn't play well against the Mets, but the reality is we have a really good club, and I think we have a really good club next year. And then he said he's open-minded on things and blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, he's at least putting the possibility out there that there's not going to be major moves and there's just going to be a minor tweak or two. They're going to have to figure out the back of the bullpen. But don't be surprised if not a lot happens and you come back essentially with the same core. Because other teams, you can't put the Mariners into the Cobra clutch and say you have to make a trade with us for who we want. You can't make the White Sox trade you Crochet. You can't make a player sign for the money that you want. So maybe there's not going to be moves to be made out there. But running it back with the same team, man, I don't know. We'll continue this discussion on the other side. We also have Uncle Jamie. We have college conference championship games, and we're going to set the stage with Uncle Jamie as he joins us for his college football locks of the week. That is coming up next right here on Philly with Jon Marks. Hey, listen, let's talk about Glatt for a second. Glatt hair restoration. Dr. Ken Morgenstern, who oversees, he's the renowned plastic surgeon. He oversees the operation with Glatt hair restoration. And he looks like Howie Roseman's brother. I don't want to say older brother. It looks more distinguished than Howie Roseman. That's not a slight at Howie. But he does. He looks just like a big Philly sports fan. I've met on a couple different occasions. But under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern is Glatt Hair Restoration's hair team. The most experience and success in hair restoration in Philadelphia. All right? So if you're in the stage of hair loss where you're like, wow, I'm almost going bald. I want my hair back. Boom, you can do it. If you're starting to go bald and you're like, hey, you know what? I'd like some options, maybe not hair restoration. They have something for you. And I want to point this out as well. Because I have many people in my life, both professionally that that work in the business locally or nationally, or just people that I'm friends with or I know that have had hair restoration with Glad Hair Restoration, and they didn't tell anybody. When I had it done, I didn't tell anybody until I told people, right? You can have this done and not tell anybody. You can get your hair back and they'll just know you look great. They won't know that you had a restoration procedure. They don't need to know it. And like, if you can take a week off or a couple days off, I'm telling you, you can get away with it. And Glad Hair Restoration, most experience, most success. So, one-on-one consultation. It's free. It's with my girls at the hair team, Cheryl and Lisa, experts in the industry. They're not upselling you. They're going to give their honest opinion because they're experts. May not be restoration. Maybe some of the other great things that they do. But they're going to give you the best course of treatment. Call them today. Glad Hair, 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. You can speak to the hair team right now. Also, GlatzHairMCTR.com. GlatzHairMCTR.com. Rugged Road. Love these coolers. We need one of these coolers. I need one of these coolers right now. All right, Rugged Road. If you're an outdoorsman, if you're a tailgater, and like, listen, I wouldn't even know what to do with a fishing rod if you gave it to me. I'd have problems baiting the rod, if that makes sense, right? Like, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. Tyler, are you a fisherman?
No, so I am not, but my wife and her family are huge into fishing.
Really?
Yes, they love the camping, outdoorsy scene. I am not at all.
Wow. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't. Honestly, I feel it's like when I can't fix something. It's stuff. It's like I feel inferior. I feel like a beta male. Same thing with fishing. But anyway, I love tailgating. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Their products are designed with the highest quality materials. So if you're on land, maybe at a game or just camping, or on water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. When I say on water, check this out. One of the most unique features of Rugged Road coolers, their ability to always float upright. So you want to, like, you're doing whatever on the water, throw it in there, it's going to float upright. And unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport without compromising on performance. Everybody needs a good cooler. And this cooler right here, the Rugged Road cooler, can keep your contents cool for up to 7 days, but sometimes even more than that. So outdoor activities, fishing, tubing, camping. What about going to the Birds game for tailgating? These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, built to be used. RuggedRoadOutdoors.com. If you use the code PHLY at checkout, 10% off. PHLY at checkout, RuggedRoadOutdoors.com, 10% off. Hooah! 10% off, RuggedRoadOutdoors.com. Check it out. All right, Uncle Jamie's coming along in a second. So, Tyler, I need your opinion on everything that's going on with the Phillies. You obviously do the PHLY Phillies show with Jamie and Renee.
Yep.
To me, Dombrowski, it feels like I kind of am at the mercy of other GMs and other teams right now. I'm willing to make a move. I might even be looking to make a move. But if I can't get what I feel like is fair value for Alec Bohm, I'm not trading him.
No, and I've been saying that for a while. I think that the short-sightedness would be to say, let's move Alec Bohm because of how the season ended and because of what is perceived to be like this immaturity thing and the slip in production. And all of those things are valid points, but I don't think they're valid to say, let's move the guy because you need to shake things up. You have a starting third baseman whose glove has gotten better as the years go on, who is a consistent, at least in terms of, he's going to be a high doubles producer. When a higher contact rate, a higher OBP rate than, I think what the alternative might be. And I think on top of it, the big thing is they're not going to be in a rush to move the guy because of the contract situation. We've talked about this before. He's still got 2 years of arbitration control left.
Affordable.
He's probably going to make somewhere in the $8, $9, $10 million range this year. Probably if he plays
11.
well again, 12, 13, 14 in the following year. Yeah. That's $20 to $25 million for 2 seasons for a guy who, probably outperformed his abilities last year and became an all-star, but was an all-star third baseman last year. Is a serviceable defender enough. and is a quality.
Whoever trades for him, that's their third baseman. They don't have to worry about third base.
Correct.
But if you're the Phillies, you have to look at it the same way, right?
Sure, and that's the thing is I don't want to be short-sighted and to say just to move the guy, because I don't know what the alternative is. Do you then go sign Bregman? I'm not sure. The diminishing numbers on Bregman are concerning. Do you make a trade for Nolan Arenado? The diminishing numbers on Nolan Arenado are concerning.
Yeah, I don't like
Do you go with a bridge type of guy where it's a serviceable player until Aiden Miller's ready and you feel comfortable with Aiden Miller? Do you trade Bohm and then swing for the fences and try to sign Willy Adames?
Wes Helms available on the free agent market?
So my question is or my thought is, I don't know if you necessarily just want to make the move just to make the move.
You can't. You can't. And that's, Dombrowski's more or less saying that. Here's the last thing he said to Zielecki in the column. He said, you're always open-minded, and so the reality is we're open-minded. We're talking to people. We have a good club. If we take the same club back that we had last year and we make a tweak here and a tweak there, I think we'll compete to win the division and be in a position where we'll be definite postseason contenders. So it may be a tweak here and a tweak there.
And here's the thing. I don't think he's wrong. People will be frustrated that they run it back because it feels like you're smacking your head against the brick wall. He's right. They probably will be a playoff contender. Their pitching staff is still excellent. Their core is still good, right? And high-paid guys, if they produce the way that you hope they produce, this should still probably be somewhere in that 90 to 95 win range team, right? And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but people will be frustrated because, again, it feels like you're smacking your head against the brick wall.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to touch on real quick, and I apologize, I know Jamie's coming up, the Seattle thing. I think Seattle has some merit in the conversation because Josh Rojas was their primary third baseman last year. He was not particularly good. Now, their whole team was not offensively particularly good. I know
their average was really low as
awful.
A team, historically.
Cal Raleigh was excellent, drove in 100, hit 30. Julio Rodriguez dug himself out of a really bad early season slump, ended up hitting 20, hit 275. He's going to be fine. There's no question in my mind. I think Randy Arozarena is going to be fine in a full season in Seattle. But offensively, they struggled this year, and it's a huge reason as to why Scott Servais got fired, and it's a huge reason as to why they missed the playoffs because their pitching staff was excellent. Even with that being a strength, I think if the Phillies called the Mariners and said, hey, we want George Kirby or Logan Gilbert, and they should shoot for the moon, right? That's what you do in trades when you start. I think the Mariners hang the phone up on them. George Kirby is like the command king. Last 2 seasons, 0.9 walks per 9 and 1.1 walks per 9. His strikeout per 9 rates were the best in baseball each of the last 2 seasons. A mid-3 ERA, guy just goes out and takes the ball. Logan Gilbert, to me, is an emerging ace. If I were to put futures money on a Cy Young winner next year, not your big name guys, Logan Gilbert would be the guy that I would put the money on. He finished 6th last year. He's made 97 starts in the last 3 seasons. The guy doesn't miss time. 3.2 ERA last year, 209 innings pitched. He's awesome. I think if the Phillies called and said, we'll give you Alec Bohm for Logan Gilbert, the Mariners hang the phone up.
They're not trading one of those 2 starters just for Alec Bohm. And they're not and if you could say, well, how about we put a prospect in? If the Mariners aren't rebuilding. The Mariners are trying to get back in the playoffs here. So to trade one of their 2 young starters that aren't making a lot of money doesn't make a lot of sense. And Dave Dombrowski should ask for him. Who knows what they're going to say about it? But anyway, last thing, and then Uncle Jamie's coming up with the picks. Dombrowski had said this week that the priorities are outfielder to play left or center, a late inning right-handed reliever, which we know, and another starter. So I don't know if that number starter is a 1-year contract guy with not a lot of money because Andrew Painter's going to be expected back and for some depth or what. Or are they trading and then they're going to trade Ranger, which I think is also a possibility. It's going to be fascinating. I think this weekend some moves are going to happen that's going to accelerate the process in baseball to have some other signings and tradings and things like that. So, all right, well, let's get to it. I am super duper excited for the college football championship games this weekend. And listen, Jamie doesn't have any Friday night winners in his games, but there's a good Friday night game. Joining us right now, Jamie Haberly from Central City Toyota for Uncle Jamie's College Football Locks of the Week, brought to you by Central City Toyota, 55 years on Chestnut Street in the heart of University City. Online, centralcitytoyota.com. Uncle Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. You guys, you and Tyler have the good news is winter meetings, then 2 months to debate what the Phillies should do. So a lot of conversations to be had. One thing about the Phillies, I think Dombrowski is one of those executives that really sort of tells you what he's thinking, and I think he's laid out in full that they ain't going any big signings. They're not giving away the farm. He feels a tweak, and if they play well at the right time, which is his central point, that they'll perform in the playoffs. That's his thinking.
Yep. He's been around. He's been around long enough to know it. They almost won the World Series with that right there. Like, how do you beat the Dodgers or a team like that? Yeah, pitch them, right?
100%.
So he's looking to upgrade, always looking to upgrade the rotation, get a little bit younger, looking a year or two down the road. That's why they probably want Crochet, because they realize he could be their number one starter in 2 years. But listen, he's also got his work cut out for him. Because when you're going up against the Mets, who are going to spend, the Yankees are going to spend, the Dodgers are going to spend. Seems like the Red Sox are trying to get back in, and they're ready to spend some money. So it's going to be competitive. I'm curious to see what happens when guys really start signing. Once Soto goes, I think everything's going to kind of open up.
Everything falls after Soto goes. He sets the contract market, then everything flows from there. Yep.
All right. Well, listen, let's start at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. What do you know? The Fighting James Franklins of Penn State, the Nittany Lions against top-ranked Oregon. I always try to guess, Uncle Jamie, what the line is when you see, what's the matchup? Is this like Oregon -5, Oregon -6? This is a 3.5-point spread. It's a smaller spread than I would have expected. So to me, the odds makers are saying, hey, we expect a close game here. What's your evaluation? What are you looking at? Penn State, Oregon, Saturday night, 8 p.m., Big Ten championship game. What do you got?
Well, I think everyone is surprised the Big Ten championship game is not Ohio State, Oregon, after the Ryan Days decided to play the way they played last weekend. So Penn State comes in. I think because of that factor, that it's not Ohio State, it's Penn State. I think the odds makers are tending towards that. I don't think they know what to make of Oregon in a big game like this. That's why they're hedging their bets a little bit. I'm going to tell you this. I see Oregon having every indicator to win this game big. I think they will win by more than 3.5 points. I think Oregon's defense is much underrated, especially against the run game, which is obviously a strength of Penn State. I don't know if I trust Drew Aller in a big spot. I do trust Dylan Gabriel in a big spot. I think Oregon covers easy in this game. I think this is a touchdown or more. Oregon all day long to win the Big Ten championship.
It's a fishy line. Tyler had said this before we went on the air. If there's points scored, that doesn't bode well for Penn State. Almost similar to Ohio State and Michigan game. If it's an ugly game and there's field goals instead of touchdowns and there's turnovers, that's how Penn State wins the game.
Yeah.
So
I'll be curious. Pound the rock, throw it to 44, make it an ugly game, field goals, turnover for Oregon here and there in a critical spot. Don't convert in the red zone. That's the way Penn State wins. Other than that, if this game goes normal route, offense going up and down a little bit, they don't win that game. No way.
All right, so Uncle Jamie has Oregon -3.5. All right, let's stick with 8 p.m. going up against the Big Ten championship game. The ACC, just as everybody wanted to see, SMU. When you think ACC football, Uncle Jamie, you definitely think SMU. But they're a good team. 2.5-point favorites over Clemson. SMU, I know Dabo Swinney was lobbying for ACC teams in the college football playoffs. I don't know if that's going to happen if Clemson wins, but SMU 2.5-point favorites over Clemson. How do you see this one?
Another surprise matchup, right? Because garbage Miami, throws another game down the tubes. Mario Cristobal. I mean, he's becoming a Ryan Day James Franklin. Can't win when he needs to win or makes a bad decision. I think Clemson is so weak. I think SMU will smack them. Let me give you a couple stats that I looked up. SMU scoring 40 points a game on average. Kevin Jennings having a spectacular year, the SMU quarterback. Here's the best part, is that in the last 5 games, Clemson has scored 24 points or less. You're going to need to score 40 to beat SMU in this game. No way. SMU covers easy. Once again, I think the odd makers don't know what to make of SMU in a big spot. I think SMU trounces Clemson all day long in this game. SMU, ACC champion.
I like it. Yeah, because I don't know what to make of SMU in a big game, right? But I agree. Like Clemson wins last week. I don't think Clemson's good at all. I think they're very much probably an above average team.
Yeah.
They're not a playoff team to me, but they might be if they win this game.
Yep, we'll see what happens.
All right, Georgia, Texas. By the way, how Georgia comes back and wins that game last week against Georgia Tech, and then you got 8 overtimes. It's a friggin' miracle that they're in this game. But it's the 4 p.m.er on Saturday. Georgia, Texas. Texas only a 2.5-point favorite. I'll say it again. And we saw what happened last time here. But I don't know what to make of Texas in this game. I don't know what to make of Georgia in this game. Maybe you have a better read on it.
Yeah, I think the odds makers are telling you that they believe in Kirby Smart, right? Kirby Smart in a big spot has proven over and over again, except Alabama, over and over again that he's the guy to bet for. So I think that's why they're only 2.5-point dollars in this game. Last game, let me throw the stat at you. Last game, the Texas turned it over 4 times and rushed for 29 yards. You think that's going to happen again? 4 turnovers and 29 yards? No way.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. And Georgia beat them 30-15.
Right.
I once again, I see a good game. All year long, I have been waiting for Georgia to, you know what, their first half, so that's not a big deal. You know, they come back in the second half. Their defense, it's good. It's Kirby Smart. You know what? I don't believe in Georgia anymore. I don't know what happened to Georgia. At some point, Carson Beck.
Yeah, the quarterback.
What happened to him? He was going to be a number 1 prospect, and now he's down the draft board somewhere. I think Texas wins the game. I don't think it's a blowout. I think it's a 5 to 6 to 7 point game. I think Texas wins it.
Texas
runs the ball. I think they win this game.
Texas minus 2.5. So you have Oregon minus 3.5. Texas minus 2.5. SMU minus 2.5. All favorites for Uncle Jamie in the college football locks of the week. Sponsored by Central City Toyota. Largest parts and service dealership in the entire city of Philadelphia. If you work in the city, you can get your car serviced at Central City Toyota. Make an appointment. Go to centralcitytoyota.com. They will come and grab your car, service it, and then drop it back off. Or you can drop it off, take the shuttle into work. And right now, you got deals going on certified Toyotas, Jamie. What do you got going on down there?
It is the time. It is Toyotathon in the world of Toyota. So the whole month of December, special finance rates, limited down payments, big inventories. Now is definitely a time. December is a great time to buy a Toyota and a great time to enjoy Toyota Care. So I would say contact me and come on down. We do have some great deals going.
Central City Toyota.com. Just walk right in the door and yell, "Where's Uncle Jamie?" And they will find him for you.
You made me some money this year, Uncle Jamie.
Yes, and if his picks are bad, you can just don't barge in trying to choke him or anything. All right, Uncle Jamie, good luck.
All right.
See ya. And by the way, shout out to everybody watching on TV. If you want to watch the rest of the show, go over to allphly.com. What do you think of those games, Tyler? I know you're, are we the biggest college football fans here? I know Jamie Lynch is also.
Jamie's a pretty, and Fran Duffy is a football consuming. He consumes football at a different level. Like, it's insane the way that he.
A lot of consumption.
Breaks down tape, and he's so good. Obviously we work with him. I'm a little biased, but I felt that way prior to him working here. He's one of the best in the business. But yeah, I think in terms of being, you good there?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. In terms of being fans, I think we're probably right up there, and I don't disagree with Uncle Jamie. I think Oregon covers on Saturday as well. And when I was talking to Jason and Adam yesterday on the Penn State show, like I said, if this game's 21-17, if it's 24-21 in that range, like, I feel like Penn State could win this game. If it gets up to 28, 30, 31, I don't think Penn State has the capability of going up and down the field with Oregon the way that Oregon can go up and down the field with anybody.
Right.
The one game that I love that Uncle Jamie picked that I agree with, I've been on this team all year. I think you and I talked about them like 6 weeks ago. I love SMU.
Yeah, I agree.
Love SMU in this spot. I liked them to beat Miami a couple weeks ago. Prior to Miami falling apart, I liked them to beat Clemson. Uncle Jamie had South Carolina. Was all over South Carolina last week. I think SMU goes in and beats Clemson as well. They're also the best chance the ACC has of getting definitive representation in the college football playoff. I really like SMU this week.
Yeah, I do too. I just don't. I think Clemson isn't very good.
I also hate Dabo Swinney, so there's a little bit of a personal thing for me.
I do.
I just think he's like he's so full of himself. It's not even funny. But I think this SMU team is really good.
Georgia, Texas is interesting.
It's gonna be a great game.
Carson Beck came out this week and he talked about, and maybe some of it was taken a little bit out of context, but he more or less was like, I don't like football. I don't watch football. Like I never watch football.
Some Anthony Rendon answers right there.
It was, remember when Trevor Lawrence more or less said like that he doesn't have passion for football, or like his faith was more than football, or family was more than football. But like Carson Beck literally, and I remember talking to Fletcher Cox about this. Fletcher Cox, if you ask him about the NFL, he doesn't know anything outside of what he needs to know as a player. He doesn't watch football. He wants to hunt, right? Like he doesn't have a passion for watching football. If you talk to Brandon Graham about football, he watches any game that he can watch, college and pro. He watches everything. He pays attention. He's reading up on it or whatever. He's a huge football fan. Carson Beck is not the Georgia quarterback is not a football fan. Now,
yeah, and listen, nobody's asking you to like, you don't, because here's the thing. It's a weird scenario where sports are entertainment, right? And if you're in the sports industry, people expect you to consume everything, right? And that may not be the case for everybody, because if I asked somebody in a line of work that was a more important line of work than what you and I do, right? Like something that actually mattered in life. If I said, hey, do you follow the school district down the street? Or do you, how do you feel about the attorney office in Newtown? They'd be like, the hell are you talking about, dude? Because it's, so it's just a thing because sports are entertainment. They're fun for people outside of their jobs. If it is your job, people just expect you to be your lifeblood, right?
Right.
Like there's times where, we get done a show, and especially if it's like a Friday night, and I go, all right, I'll check in on the Sixers tonight, but I'll watch the recap tomorrow because I have 48 hours to catch up on the game.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to disassociate from your job for a little bit. I don't have any issue with that. I think people take that out of context sometimes, where they say, oh, well, he hates football or he hates baseball and he doesn't have a passion for the game. Sometimes you just want to disassociate from your job a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Play video games, hang out with your family, watch a movie, read a book. Happens in every job.
Yeah, he sucks. So if he was a better quarterback, I would have less. Like, if he was a better quarterback, then it would be like, all right, is this the guy really? Like, look at Trevor Lawrence. Is this really the guy? You got to have passion.
Well, and that's my issue. Like when Anthony Rendon did this at the beginning of the season last year, where it was like, baseball's not my passion, and it's my job. People are like, dude, I get it. I understand it. And I think people's bigger complaint was, you haven't played a full season in like 9 years. And you don't seem like you're in any rush to get back to play.
There's a difference between not giving a shit, not giving a bleep about what you do, which is Anthony Rendon. He's clearly going through the motions so he can collect the rest of his contract. He's constantly hurt. Like, he don't want to be out there. He's only playing because he has a contract and he makes a lot of money. No one's saying that about Carson Beck.
No.
But you also, especially your quarterback, you want him to have some kind of passion for his job and for his sport. And it doesn't seem like he has any passion. Doesn't mean that he's not prepared. Doesn't mean that he doesn't watch film or anything like that. It was just surprising to me that he answered the question like he did. All right, so some of the other games, real quick before we get out of here. The Mountain West, Boise State, UNLV, Boise State. I can't wait for this Friday night.
This might end up being one of the better games on the slate. Like, this is two good teams. And honestly, I saw a tweet the other day, and it's true. I don't know. Is there a team, maybe Arizona State, is there a team across the championship slate of games that mean this game, one individual game, means more to the season than it does to Boise State? If Boise State wins this game, they're going to get a bye in the college football playoff.
That's true.
If they lose this game, they're going to be playing in the
Holiday Bowl.
The Holiday Bowl of America, of Hawaii, of New Orleans R&L Carriers Bowl. That was as many bowls as I could think of off the top of my head.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah.
Maybe in a better bowl than that, but yes.
But they'll
Bowl.
be in a better bowl. It'll be like the PlayStation Bowl or whatever it is. But the discrepancy between a win and a loss for Boise State is substantial this weekend. Like, Texas and Georgia are both going to be in the college football playoff. Penn State and Oregon are both going to be in the college football playoff.
It could be program defining. It can change the fortunes of your program. You get a bye in the college football playoff. Now you're talking about, hey, transfer portal.
Come play at Boise State.
I mean, oh man, it changes everything. That's a good one. And I don't really know. I don't think UNLV is very good, but it's kind of a late line. Last one, Big 12, Arizona State, Iowa State. Rocco Becht, who is the quarterback for Ohio State, his dad, Anthony Becht, former tight end in the National Football League. He also coaches the St. Louis team in the whatever it was, the XFL.
Yeah, the Battlehawks.
Yeah, and he former Jet, former first-round pick. He's a Delco guy. So I've been following, and my friend is his brother-in-law. So I've been following Rocco, who's the starting quarterback at Iowa State. So I've been following them this year. They're a pretty good team.
Yeah, I mean, this is two fairly similar teams in terms of talent level. So to me, I take the team, when it comes down to that, I take the team with who's got the best player. The best player in this game to me is Cam Scatterbo, the running back for Arizona State. 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. This kid's legit. To me, he's the difference maker in this one.
I would lean Arizona State. Iowa State doesn't have, like, when you look at some of these Big 12 teams, they'll get exposed when they go up against an SEC team that has a big offensive line and a big defensive line, and physically they can't match up against them. That's not Arizona State. So I think there's going to be some points scored in this game, but I'm rooting for Iowa State. So I am Tulane and Army also, the AAC championship game. I know that Tyler will be glued to that one on Friday night.
Probably. I have a 7-week-old at home. I sit and I watch TV and I hang out with him.
Green Wave.
That's what we do.
Yeah, man. I never watched as much TV as when I had my babies when they were little. All right. Shout out to all of our chatters out there. Appreciate it. You're watching on YouTube live every morning at 8 o'clock and chatting away. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. As we build a community of viewers, watchers, and listeners here on Philly with Jon Marks. If you're watching later on YouTube, we love you just as much. Thank you for tuning in when you can tune in. It's always available to watch 24/7. Podcast listeners, the audio version podcast, Tyler gets it up shortly after the show. Please subscribe and review and give a nice 5-star review for us, because all the stuff that we try to do for you and giving you good listening. And we will talk to everybody. It's a Football Friday tomorrow, so we'll talk to everybody tomorrow live at 8 a.m. Until then, see you.
We all silly like the mayor.